Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to welcome you to this extraordinary council meeting of Tuesday, the 29th of July, 2025 at the Aurora Community Conference Centre. I am Claire Ewart-Kennedy, the Mayor of Strathbogie Shire Council, and I will be chairing today's meeting. Before we proceed, I call on Councillor Housel to reinforce our councillor vision and values.
Thank you. Okay. Our councillor vision, we will work as a councillor group that delivers valuable outcomes for our community through teamwork characterised by respectful debate, collaboration and the commitment to be inclusive and transparent. And we've adopted values of respect, integrity, accountability, transparency and responsiveness.
Acknowledgement of traditional landowners. We acknowledge the traditional custodians of the places we live, work and play. We recognise and respect the enduring relationship they have with their lands and waters. And we pay respects to the elders past, present and emerging. Today we are meeting on the lands of the Tungarung peoples, the Eastern Kulin Nation, whose sovereignty has never been ceded. Privacy notice. This privacy meeting is being streamed live via our website, Council Meeting in Minutes Strathbogie Shire, and made available for public access on our website along with the official minutes of this meeting. All care is taken to maintain your privacy. However, as a visitor in the public gallery, it is assumed that your consent is given in the event that your image is broadcast to the public. It is also assumed that your consent is given to the use and disclosure of any information that you share at the meeting, including personal or sensitive information to any person who accesses those records for minutes. Those recordings for minutes. Governance principles. Council considers that the recommendations contained in this agenda gives effect to the overarching governance principles stated in section 9-2 of the Local Government Act 2020. These principles are number 1 to 9 on page 5 and 6 of the agenda. Voting. If a meeting is open to members of the public or is being live streamed, voting on any matter may be by any method resolved by council that enables those in attendance and those watching a live stream broadcast to clearly see which way a council has voted at the time that vote is taken. In the absence of the council resolving an alternative method, voting on any matter is by a show of hands. An outline of how the meeting will work. We welcome the people in our public gallery and also those viewing this meeting through our live stream via our website. This meeting is being held in accordance with Strathbogie Shire's governance rules. If we have technical difficulties during today's meeting, which means we are unable to stream the proceedings to the public, we will continue with the meeting given the public gallery is open. If a councillor or officer has a conflict of interest in a matter, they will be asked to leave the meeting and no discussion on the matter will be commenced until they have done so. The person will then be contacted to rejoin the meeting after the matter has been considered and the vote concluded. Public gallery is reminded that as this is a public meeting, we respectfully ask that all attendees remain quiet and courteous during the meeting. Apologies, leave of absence. I note that Councillor Carlson is an apology for today's meetings. Are there any other apologies or leaves of absence for today's meetings?
No, Madam Mayor, there's no apologies or leave of absence.
Thank you, CEO Tamlin. Disclosure of conflicts of interest. Councillors, I will take all papers as being read. That being the case, are there any disclosures of conflicts of interest? No? Okay. We now move to page 11. Item 11, officers' reports. Councillor. Item 7.11. Draft Community Vision 2035. The purpose of the report is for Council to present the Draft Community Vision 2035 for Council's consideration and endorsement for community feedback for a period of 21 days. Councillors, are there any questions or clarifications before we proceed? Councillors, we have a recommendation. Can I have a motion, please, and can you state what your motion is? Councillors, can I have a motion? Please, and can you state what your motion is? Councillor Stevens, thank you very much.
Looking for the microphones, Madam Mayor. I would like to state a motion as per the recommendation that has 3 points to it. The Council endorses the Draft Community Vision 2035. And that being, we will create a thriving place to live, work and explore, where history and country are honoured Innovation is welcomed. A collective spirit makes us stronger. And I've just realised that I'm speaking to this and I should be. Yes, this is my motion.
Yes.
I apologise. And our natural environment is sustained for future generations, which has been prepared in accordance with Section 55, Deliberative Community Engagement, Section 88, Community Vision, Section 89, Strategic Planning Principles of Local Government Act 2020. And this is for the purpose of seeking community feedback. Point number 2, seeks public comment on the draft Community Vision 2035 for a period of 21 days, commencing the 30th of April 2025 and closing at 11:59 p.m. on Tuesday the 20th of May 2025. Final point, receives formal written submissions for the draft Community Vision 2035 to be considered at an extraordinary council meeting proposed to be held at 4 o'clock on Tuesday the 3rd of June 2025 in the Euroa Community Conference Centre. That is the motion. Thank you.
Councillor Stevens, can I get you to reconfirm the recommendation as it's printed?
Did I misread?
You may have just changed one.
All right, I do apologise for that. And yes,
Thank you very much.
as in the document. Thank you.
Thank you. Could I please have a seconder? Councillor Jeffries. Thank you. Anyone against the motion? No. Councillor Stevens, as the member, would you like to speak to the motion?
Just very briefly, thanks, Mayor. This is a draft document, and the importance of this document is that it's going out to community, and we're asking the community to have a look at it, to have a read of it, and give us feedback on their thoughts. We are required by law to put together a community vision, and it's one of a number of documents that sit side beside each other that gives us the goals and the aims of what we're trying to achieve as we move forward. So please, I encourage people to read the document and to give us feedback accordingly. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Stevens. Would anyone like to speak against the motion? Would anyone else like to speak for the motion? Councillor Jeffries, would you like to speak?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just to add that the draft community vision was put together over the period of the last few months after having community engagement and through the working group, our community, our future community working group, along with councillors' input.
Thank you, Councillor Jeffrey. Is there any councillor who has not spoken who would like to address the meeting? Councillor Vince.
Thank you, Mayor Committee. Just further to my fellow colleagues' comments, just to reinforce it, this is a community vision. So it's not specifically council's vision, like Councillor Halsall read out at the top of our meeting today, which was our council group vision. This is our community vision, and I think it's really critical for our community to participate in the process of this public exhibition and submitting their formal submissions to that process, because it is quite a shift from the previous one that the council had adopted in 2021. And so I think it's really important that community have a chance to participate in that feedback process and share their input and see if this does in fact represent the community of Strathbogie Shire and is a vision that they're excited for us to hold as something that we will aim to achieve. So I really encourage people to participate in that process.
Thank you, Councillor Vince. Is there any other councillor who has not spoken who would like to address the meeting? No? Thank you, councillors. I will now put the motion to a vote. Those in favour? Motion is carried. Councillors, we now move to page 16, item 7.1.2, Draft Council Plan 2025-29. The purpose of the report is to present the Draft Council Plan for Council's consideration and endorsement for community feedback for a period of 21 days. Councillors, are there any questions or clarification before we proceed? No. Councillors, we have a recommendation. Can I have a motion, please? And can you state what your motion is? Councillor Halsall. Thank you.
I would like the motion to reflect the recommendation on page 16 as written.
Thank you, councillor Hassel. Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Holloway. Councillor Hassel, oh, sorry. No, that's right. Councillor Hassel, would you like to address the meeting?
No.
Thank you, councillor Hassel. Councillor Holloway, as a seconder, would you like to speak to the motion or reserve your right until the other councillors have spoken?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll just briefly say that the recommendation is to endorse the draft council plan 2025 to 2029, to put it on display for public written feedback for a period of 21 days, to authorize the CEO to make any minor editorial changes, and then to revisit this once feedback is received, to codify it into a formal document. So this is the beginning of a 21-day process.
Thank you, councillor Holloway. Do we have anyone that would like to speak against the motion? No? Are there any other councillors who have not spoken who would like to address the meeting? Councillor Binks?
Thank you, Mayor Kennedy. I know we've been doing quite a lot of consultation with our community around developing these documents, and including a community working group. We've provided some really valuable feedback to us over the work we've done to date, and this, I guess, is the culmination of that initial consultation with our community. It's really important that you take the chance to read this document and understand it. It does set our strategic direction for the coming 4 years of council. And so out of this, and you'll see coming up in our agenda, we set our annual action plans, which then direct the action and the activities of council for that financial year. So it is a really critical document and does just basically, it's that high level strategic work that sets out what council will be doing. So it is really important the community are involved in it. I think what is really fabulous about our council.
Sorry, excuse me, councillor Binks. Can I ask the public gallery not to talk while the council is in process, please? Thank you. Please resume, councillor Binks.
That this document, our draft council plan, has really simplified it down to 3 strategic pillars, 3 strategic objectives, and I think that has tried to simplify it. Those being connected, sustained, and delivered, and I think that's a really great way to perhaps have some really big strategic goals, but also to simplify it in a way that we are able to capture that we're aiming to achieve in our council plan. So I do really encourage community again to take the time to have a look at it and get in touch with any of your councillors if you'd like some help with how you might do that submission.
Thank you, councillor Binks. Are there any other councillors who would like to address the meeting that haven't yet spoken to the motion? Councillor Stevens?
Thank you. Just very quickly, I'd just like to thank the community that have already been involved up to this stage to pull this document together, and to thank the staff for the work that they've done as well. It's really important to get the voice of the community so that we're all on the same page moving forward. So I recommend that the community do have a look at these documents because they're important. Every document before us tonight is an important strategic document and they interact with each other. So thank you.
Thank you, councillor. So is there any other councillors who haven't spoken to the motion who would like to speak to the motion? No? Thank you, councillors. I will now put the motion to a vote. Those in favour? Motion is carried. Moving to page 61, item 7.1.3, draft financial plan 2025-35. The purpose of this report is to present the draft financial plan 2025-2035 for council's consideration and endorsement for public display and community feedback for a period of 21 days. Are there any questions or clarification before we proceed? Councillors. Councillors, we have a recommendation. Can I have a motion, please? And you say what your motion is. Councillor Holloway.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would like to move the recommendation on page 61, which in summary is to endorse the draft financial plan 2025-2035 and put it on display for 21 days as has happened with the other documents.
Councillor Holloway. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Jeffrey. Is there any opposition? No? Does any councillor wish to speak to the motion? Councillor Holloway.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. An old adage goes that in the best compromises, neither party leaves completely happy. This draft financial plan must be a great compromise then, since I'm not completely happy. I say that in jest, but in actuality, I believe it to be true. We have hammered out a robust compromise document set that charts a course for turning around this Shire's finances without relying on any rash, hurried changes, and while also preserving service offerings. While I'm unhappy we were unable to do the lion's share of the work now and make the changes more immediate, I do have confidence that we will get there with continued hard work. After having examined in detail the past 9 years' worth of financial data, I believe this Shire was in a death spiral of eroding financial position. Two bellwethers of this. One, in terms of cash on hand held at the end of the financial year, last year, 2024, was the second worst result in the 9 years I studied, and this year, 2025, is the worst result. For years, we have averaged around $16 million in cash in bank on 30 June, but this year we are forecast to have under $5 million, less than a third. The second bellwether is the overall operating surplus for the year. Last year, 2024, was the second worst result in the 9 years I've studied, and this year, 2025, is the worst result. Sounds a bit like deja vu. Unfortunately, the operating surplus trend is even more alarming because in 2025, we are forecast to have a deficit of $741,000, the first time in the 9 years of data I have examined that we spent more than we earned. So last year, we crashed through the previous floor of comfortable multi-million-dollar surpluses, and this year we fall down into the basement, going from profit into loss. Not good. If these trends continued, it would be guaranteeing eventual bankruptcy or insolvency or both. We as councillors charged with the responsibility of ensuring long-term financial sustainability could not in good conscience allow this trend to continue. That is one side of the compromise, keeping us from going broke. The other side was the worthy desire of officers to ensure the best possible delivery of services to the residents, ratepayers, and businesses of this Shire, whom we as a council serve. That is an admirable goal, and one which, if our finances were more robust, I would be championing myself. The compromise itself consists of time and scale. A balanced, sustainable change of financial trajectory could not be achieved for the upcoming financial year. Savings over early drafts were in fact achieved, and quite significant ones at that. These savings were derived almost exclusively from the low-hanging fruit of efficiency savings rather than service cuts. Looking into forward projections for years past 2026, some projected efficiency gains are modeled, but are currently only aspirational goals. This also is a compromise. We, councillors and officers alike, need to work hard over upcoming years to ensure that these aspirations translate to reality. I do not believe this organisation can afford to miss any targets or spend anything on non-value for money outcomes. Really, the operating surplus goals we have set need to move from the realm of aspirational to that of a floor that we will not in any circumstances breach. We cannot afford any more years like the last two. To our new incoming CEO, whom I personally have every confidence is going to achieve some fantastic results for our Shire, I make one request in advance. That being, please do not view the efficiency goals as we have modeled them as constraints from this council. Rather, please view them as both a realistic self-assessment of the challenges we as an organization face, in other words, no surprises, and an absolute commitment from this council to stand with you on any efficiencies that you can introduce in order to ensure our long-term financial viability as a Shire. While I'm disappointed that we could not achieve lasting sustainability as rapidly as I'd hoped, I do think that a lot of good work has been put into these reports and accompanying budget. And I personally feel that these documents form a realistic baseline and hopefully the beginning of an upward financial trajectory. Therefore, I urge my colleagues to vote in favour of this motion's adoption. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Holloway. Right. I have a seconder.
No,
Sorry, councillor Jeffrey, sorry, there's been some changes with the paper, so just bear with me. Councillor Jeffrey, would you like to speak to the motion or reserve your right until other councillors have spoken?
certainly all right, thank you.
Thank you. Councillors, are there any further speakers to the motion? No? Councillor Jeffrey, would you now like to speak to it?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Only to reiterate Councillor Holloway's words and to thank both councillors and staff in the creation of this draft financial plan. There's been an enormous amount of work that's gone into understanding the financial position of the organisation from right back from when the new council was elected. Councillor Holloway himself has done an enormous amount of work understanding the numbers, and I think being tasked with the long-term sustainability of the organisation is something that is not taken lightly, and this is represented in the draft financial plan. That being said, there is still a lot of work to go, as Councillor Holloway has mentioned, and we look forward to the incoming CEO understanding the position of the organisation and working throughout the next 12 months to create a long-term sustainable future for this organisation.
Thank you, councillor Jeffrey. I'll now put the motion to a vote. Those in favour? Motion is carried. Thank you. We move to page 87, item 7.154, draft asset plan 2025-35. The purpose of this report is to present the draft asset plan for council's consideration and endorsement for community feedback for a period of 21 days. Councillors, are there any questions of clarification before we proceed? No? Councillors, we have a recommendation. Can I have a motion, please, and can you state what your motion is? Councillor Jeffrey.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Can I move the recommendation on page 87 and 88 as the motion, please?
Thank you very much. Can I have a seconder? Councillor Holloway, thank you. Is there any opposition? As there's no opposition, does any? Yeah, that's what I like. As there's no opposition, does any councillor wish to speak to the motion? Councillor Stevens?
No.
No. No. I beg your pardon. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry, Mayor. Because now she does, now that Boo gets to address.
Sorry. Thank you, Councillor Jeffrey. As you wish to address the meeting as the mover?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. This, again, is part of the suite of draft plans that are going out for public consultation. The asset plan provides a strategic framework for sustainable management of our council assets over their life cycle, ensuring they continue to meet current and future service delivery needs. This organisation has, in the past, had a bit of a gap that we've observed here, and this asset plan serves to close that gap in the coming period. And as more data is gathered and understood, we'll refine this work in the coming period. So I encourage my colleagues to support this draft asset plan.
Thank you, Councillor Jeffrey. Councillor Holloway, as the seconder, would you like to speak to the motion or reserve your right to speak until other councillors have spoken?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll just briefly speak. This draft asset plan, I believe, is a very, very good and robust high-level framework. It is only a high-level framework, which is as it should be at this point. So to anyone expecting, what to buy, what to sell, conditions of exact roads, it's not in here. But I believe this gives us a robust framework for actually getting to those details in coming years.
Thank you, Councillor Holloway. Councillors, are there any further speakers? Councillor Stevens?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just very quickly, once again, this is going out as a draft document, inviting the input from the community. Assets are probably one of the biggest issues for our community. They're costly. They're in this particular shire, they're extensive, they're aged, and they're important to our community. It sits well beside the other documents that we're speaking to tonight, because we know the challenges in relation to our assets, but we're looking at ways to manage them as best we can, taking into consideration the safety and the expectations of the community. So once again, please have a look at this document because it does affect you. You drive our roads, you use our facilities. So have a look at what we've got planned as to how we're going to manage it, and we would welcome your input on this document. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Clements. Are there any other further speakers? Councillor Binks?
Thank you, Mayor Kennedy. Yeah, just continuing on my colleagues' comments, I know this has been an absolute mountain of work by council officers over the past sort of 18 months, 2 years to get to this point. And there's other, as Councillor Jeffries has alluded, there's other documents that sit in the background of this to help actually perhaps get into more of that operational detail, which is not our role, but it's really great to know that that's happening because there is, I mean, if you just look at that page 101 of our document, you know, the sort of, we're talking about $567 million worth of assets, a huge amount of buildings, structures, all sorts of things that this shire is responsible for. And so having a really robust asset plan on how we manage, maintain, upgrade, renew those is absolutely critical for our council, the organisation, but most importantly our community who use all of these assets and who rely on them. So to see such a robust document and to know that it's in some really, you know, got some great other documents sitting below it is really great for our community, and totally encourage everyone to look at this as well. It might seem a bit dry, but it's actually really great and really critical to a well-functioning council organisation.
Thank you, Councillor Binks. Are there any other further speakers? No, being the case, I will now put the motion to the vote. Those in favour? Motion is carried. We now move to page 119 to item 7.1.5 draft 2025-26 Strathbogie Shire Council budget, fees and charges and revenue and rating plan. The purpose of the report is to present the draft 2025-26 Strathbogie Shire Council budget, fees and charges, revenue and rating plan for council's consideration and endorsement for community feedback for a period of 21 days. Councillors, are there any questions or clarification before we proceed? Councillors, we have a motion. Can I have a motion, please? And can you state what your motion is? Councillor Holloway.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move the recommendation on page 119. That being in summary to endorse the draft budget document and put it on display as per has been done with the other documents.
Thank you, Councillor Holloway. And page 119 and 120.
And 120. Pardon.
So that's fine. Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Jeffries. Any opposition? As there is no opposition, I'll call on the mover, Councillor Holloway. Do you wish to address the meeting?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Very briefly, so the draft budget financially is identical to the first 4 years of the draft financial plan. So large parts of this document are identical to the first 4 years of the financial plan. What does differentiate the budget is some reporting that the financial plan does not contain, specifically fees and charges, which have changed somewhat from the previous year. So I urge any interested parties from the community to closely review the fees and charges and ensure that it is something that they can accept, or if not, they make submission to it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Councillor Holloway. Councillor Jeffrey, do you wish to address the meeting?
Oh, is that all right? Thank you.
Thank you. Councillors, are there any further speakers?
Just briefly, another important document in tonight's collection of council documents, but I think it's important to tell everyone that the submissions will be received for all of these documents that are part of our meeting tonight. If they are indeed adopted by council, submissions are open until 11:59 p.m. on Tuesday, the 20th of May, 2025. So important date and time for community member to remember and to get on board.
Councillor Binks, are there any further speakers? No? Thank you, councillors. I will now put the motion to the vote. Those in favour? Motion is carried. Thank you very much. The next ordinary meeting of Strathbogie Shire Council is scheduled to be held on Tuesday, the 20th of May, 2025 at the Euroa Community Conference Centre commencing at 4 p.m. There being no further business, this meeting closed at 4:30 p.m. Thank you. Okay.